Hi everyone, it's Therese. I thought, just the fact that we are halfway through the Mercury retrograde, there's a lot of stuff going around, a lot of things where people are stressing out over stuff, and other people are like, don't worry, don't stress out about it. It's really hard right now to get online and not get sucked into somebody else's stuff, right? So I thought what we could do is talk about crystal companions who are here to help you let go of stress so that you can decide what you're going to focus on. Sometimes, even with the best efforts, when enough people are freaking out, it's easy to get sucked into that. If you're a highly sensitive person, no matter what your best intentions are, it can be easy to get sucked into other people's stress and other people's storylines. And it's nice to know that we can get some energetic help when that happens. So today on my Instagram profile, that's the word, I had posted about this little necklace that I'd made. So this is a smoky quartz, a beautiful dark smoky quartz. And this is champagne aura quartz up here. But I had posted about this, and what I wrote was something like, feeling stressed, smoky quartz, feeling paranoid, smoky quartz, like can't let go of your anger, smoky quartz, right? So I had posted about that. Someone reached out and was like, is smoky quartz really going to help me with all of this? So I wanted to talk to you about smoky quartz and why it might just be the perfect crystal for right now, for this whole time period, while we're going through cosmic, the cosmic deep dive into the psyche, about looking about how you're expressing yourself or what you're working with mentally or how you're communicating with others. There's that. And when we are trying not to take on other people's shit. As a highly sensitive person, you need to know who your crystal helpers are. And I want you to know more about smoky quartz. So, one thing I love about smoky quartz is it's connected to clear quartz. It is clear quartz. It's clear quartz that's been infused at a deeper level of the earth. So this baby, these are found deeper in the earth, and they're also, what causes them to turn dark is they are exposed to certain natural geopathic radiation. And here's something I only found out recently. I mean, I knew that smoky quartz was good for alleviating stress. It does help you naturally feel more grounded. That's because of how deep the crystal is found in the earth, so it has that deep vibration to it. What I didn't know is it's really good at redirecting electromagnetic fields. It's one of the crystals that you can have around you if you work at a computer all day like I do. I'll show you what I use. I've got this little guy is shungite. This is the best. This is like, it's actually not a crystal. It's pure carbon, but it absorbs a lot of the extra electromagnetic energy that comes off our tech, right? So this is really good. I highly recommend having that by the computer. And then Herkimer diamond as well, another crystal that I always keep around my tech because it helps to absorb and deflect. So when we don't have these extra helpers around our technology, they release a lot of positive ions into the atmosphere. Positive ions have an inverse effect on us. They sound like they should be good, positive ions, right? But they have a negative effect on us. They actually cause us to feel overstimulated. They cause us to feel agitated. They've actually done studies on people who are near cell towers, like who spend a lot of time near cell towers, because it emits so many positive ions. There's actually more tension, and aggressive people are moodier in that area. And there's one store I can think of that's literally has a cell tower right behind it. Man, you can feel it every time you go into that store. It's just wah, 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 like low energy. And so our technology is emitting that all the time. Ways you can counter it are having things that absorb positive ions, like shungite's pure carbon absorbs some of those excess positive ions. Another great thing that you already have is salt. sea salt, right? So that's why Himalayan salt lamps work, why they're so good at helping people sleep. The salt absorbs the positive ions in the atmosphere. And I only recently learned that because smoky quartz is buried so down deep in the earth that it's affected by radiation, that it has a natural way of drawing again the positive ions away and redirecting that energy and grounding it. So smoky quartz is predominantly known as a grounding crystal. For those who are like, well, what's grounding? Grounding just, it's taking the energy and it is stabilizing it. So it's a stabilizing crystal. This crystal is excellent at balancing moods. It helps you let go of, like I said, when you're a highly sensitive person, you feel other people's stuff. And sometimes when you're around a lot of other people's stuff, you forget that it's other people's and you take it on as your own. And then you're trying to heal and do the work for other people and it's not working. And then you feel frustrated. Then you get angry and resentful. You know that whole shtick, right? So smoky quartz not only helps kind of deflect that and help you be like, I'm letting it go. You can keep that. You can work on that yourself. It does that, but it also helps you let go of your own negativity, your own resentments. And so because of that, it's very calming and balancing. It's also excellent for when you're feeling overwhelmed with grief. It's another stone that, again, it just helps you ground that energy. That's not to say that you're not going to have to work through it or feel it. That's our job, right? No crystal in the world can do that for you, but it can help you. It can help you move through it when you feel like you're getting stuck in a heavy emotion. Smoky quartz. Keep it in your pocket. If you're a lady, keep it in your bra. Yep. So having it with you. So I wanted to show you a few different smoky quartz. So this is the one. These are the ones that I made for the last full moon. And I actually have a few of these left in my shop. And I love these because they kind of go from like a clear at the top. I don't know if you can see that. They're sort of like a clearish at the top down to this really dark color. And for me with smoky quartz, like the darker, the more grounding. And the more you kind of get that, whoa, like just let it go. Another one. These are pretty easy to find. This is a smoky quartz too. It almost looks clear. You can see it's just like it's got a touch of smoke to it. Grade A healing stone, smoky quartz. This one's super thin. It's really wide, but look at it. I mean, like, it's like pure. It's so clear. It's got a couple of inclusions. But you can just feel, like you can feel it just by looking at it. Just holding on to that feels really good. I think that for the time period we're in right now, where there's a lot of stuff coming at you, a lot of people frantic and worried and stressing out and forgetting, that stress is a choice. I'm not saying there aren't things that trigger stress out there. Of course there are, because we're here on this planet that has like effing contradiction and polarity everywhere. But stressing out is a choice that feels like it is almost impossible not to make. And I'm a person who makes that choice frequently. That I still have to work through the emotions that are coming up. I still have to get to the root of the feeling. It's good to know that you can do something to just kind of help ground that energy and anchor you. As we could do crystal readings. And the way these work, I've already asked, what stones I picked. There's a smoky quartz in here, just so you know. There's a smoky quartz. That's the only one that's a set card that I picked. And then I asked my team, what other crystals would people benefit from right now? What are the things that are coming up for people? And so some crystals came up, and we can play this game together. It's really easy. All you need to do is decide if you want crystal 1, crystal 2, or crystal 3. So each crystal is connected to different meanings, different energies, different elements. So we're going to find out what messages are coming through. I'm going to tell you that one of these crystals is not a crystal. There are actually a couple of different crystals out in the world that are kind of marketed as crystals that aren't actually crystals. They're close, but they don't have the perfect symmetrical structure. A crystal has a perfectly symmetrical inner structure. If you were to look at it underneath a microscope, you would see almost like sacred geometry, perfect geometry inside every crystal. So that's how a crystal is classified. If it doesn't have a certain geometric structure that's perfect, that's perfectly symmetrical, then it's not a crystal. So for those who choose number 1, if you chose number 1, you actually chose the Smoky Quartz. But this one's slightly different. Look at how cool that is. I wish I had one of these. This is an Celestial Smoky Quartz. And Celestial has to do with the shape of it and the way the energy runs through it. So it's slightly different. In fact, from this image, what I see is golden rutile in there as well, which changes it a little bit more and creates even more of this like calm down energy. So this is the calm down crystal. But let me tell you what the definition for this is. So it's Smoky Celestial Quartz is your crystal for number 1. And the message behind it is transformational magic. And what they want you to know is that you are clear, in case you were questioning it, like I'm sure you're not, but you definitely are going through a dramatic transformation. This is the time right now. And they're asking you to be patient and understand that there's a lot beneath the surface. So even though you are aware that you're going through the transformation, and remember, transformation, I love that word. I love the idea of it. It is turbulent AF, right? I mean, you got to think about the caterpillar when it goes into the cocoon. What we see on the outside is just like, this is a Zen moment where, you know, this caterpillar is doing something so serene and quiet. While on the inside, that thing is like boiling down to goo, literally, so that it can transform into its next stage of being. It's gorgeous to look at on the outside. It is hell on the inside. So there's a lot going on beneath the surface that other people can't see. They want you to know your total transformation is very close. And that part of transformation, part of before you get to emerge from the cocoon is this gooey breakdown. Some people call it shadow work. It's going to bring up the shit, right? Stuff is going to come up, the feelings about yourself, the questioning of your own motivation, your own, you're going to get a lot of life cycle reviews. So this is, I've talked about this before. In fact, I have a podcast. It's episode 1 of my podcast that's talking about the self-review process. When we get those, it's like you're moving along, doing your own thing, and slam, you get hit with a memory or a traumatic energy that's still in the body. And the body holds memory. The cells hold memory. Emotion stays in the body. And when it's not processed, it will come up to be processed. You can do it by choice, or something happens where just one day that thing's like unlock and it's ready to go. When that happens, you might not be aware that it's going to happen or necessarily ready for it. And when it does, it can cause you to severely question. When this happens to us, it can make you question your very nature. Am I a good person? Am I a bad person? When you go through a self-review cycle, you get to experience not just what you went through, but it's almost like the scene gets flipped and you get to experience it as the other person. And I remember reading about this years ago, like 20 years ago, in the Conversations with God books, about how that was part of the self-review process on the other side, is that you got to experience every scene of your life, not just as you, but as every other person that you affected. Well, that's happening to us in the body now. And if you're not aware of it, what it can do is send you down a rabbit hole of self-loathing, if you're really not aware, or at least questioning your own motivation or who you are. And what they want you to understand is this, that no matter what choice you made back then, whether it was the kindest choice, whether it was the worst choice, it doesn't matter. You did the best you could with what you had. And if you knew better, you would choose better. Honestly, Honestly, you would. Even in those moments where I can almost hear people going, I knew better and I still chose poorly. Something wasn't there. Something had to happen. Some requirement in you was like, I must choose this other choice. If you knew better, you'd choose better. And that's it. So what they want you to understand is that, you know, everything about you is beautifully connected to something amazing and higher. Even our worst choices are chosen so that we can fully experience this life. What if you're not being judged or punished right now, but what if your only job was to come here to experience? Would you more fully accept yourself? And as you accept yourself more fully, you transform. Your energy goes up higher. All right, so for those who choose number 2, you actually chose it's not an anti-crystal, but you chose something that's not even of this world, literally. Okay, you chose Moldavite. Check that piece out. I mean, wow, I'm going to tell you what Moldavite is in case you're like, or I thought that was a crystal. It's not. It's actually a meteor. It's a piece of a meteor that hit the Earth over 11 million years ago, I think it was. Yeah, 11 million years ago. It hit the Earth, and I have a little piece of it here. Mine's not as fantastic as that one. Mine's more of like a flattened out piece. Moldavite, here's how you know if you've got Moldavite, okay? You can't see the light behind it, but it's this kind of green, mossy shade of stone, and it has a transparency, and the higher grade Moldavite you find, the more glass-like it almost looks. And these are really high grade crystals that are shown. And so some of these pieces, like this one, you can tell it's got like action lines of like when it impacted the Earth. I mean, how cool is that? So some of these can be like really incredible. They're very expensive. They're hard to find. Not hard to find, but they're very expensive. And I don't know how I ended up with a piece of it. I think it was gifted to me. Also, inside Moldavite, when you get a piece, you can see those action lines in the pieces that are even smoothed out. So I'll try and show you again. You need a light behind it to really see it. Like I'm looking at it through the light right now and I'm like, oh, there they are. So Moldavite's got a transparency around the edges on this one. And some pieces can look like beautiful, like exploding glass. So here's your message. They want you to understand, if you chose card number 2, you are far more than a physical body. And they also want you to understand that you're a child from the stars. So this is where star child or star seed, those words come in, wanderers. This gets into one of my favorite categories, and I can go on a freaking tangent, so I'm going to try and stay here. But the point is that most people on the planet are not of Earth origin anymore, okay? We were called, and we decided on the other side that we were going to come in droves and change this planet. And not the planet itself. The planet was great, by the way. Planet Mother Earth, she's awesome. She called us, okay? So the short version goes like this. Short version goes like this. Atomic bomb goes off. Planet Earth goes, fuck! You know, like, what is happening? This is so wrong. Sends out a distress call and says, you guys have got to help me. From the other side, all the, celestial, benevolent beings are like, free will, we can't just change things on there. We can only influence, and we've been trying and it's not working. And so they kind of got together, like there was this, big board meeting or whatever you want to think of it as, where all these different celestial nations got together and they were like, we got to figure this out because we're trying to play by the rules. We respect the rules, but they're not working. No one's listening. The influences are getting misinterpreted and being used in a negative way. So some genius was like, what if we went inside the game, inside the world, and changed from within? And the board was like, that's risky because, there's the veil of confusion and forgetting that come in. And as soon as you go in, you forget who you are, and it becomes this whole thing. And we're like, no, what if we go in like packs, right? And then we kind of like sporadically remind each other, as one wakes up, they promise to wake up more, right? And so it becomes this big ripple effect. That's where we're at. That's what we are. That's the message of this stone. So it wants you to understand that, the mundane issues, it's layered, okay? So that's the cosmic layer I just talked about. There is a mundane layer where everything that looks the way it looks is what it is. But you have to understand that this is not a one-tier board game that we're playing on. There are levels, and they're asking you to detach. They're asking you to detach from the lower levels, and start understanding there's a higher cosmic game going on here. And if it feels dramatic, right? It feels dramatic or out of your reach, or it feels too far to fetch. They're saying, you know what? You don't have to let everything go that you understand. Open up the mind to, well, what if it was? How would I play the game differently if I did think that, right? It's actually not so much this situation where you have to let go of one set of thoughts and pick up another that's not required of anybody. It's not. It's more like it's more like improvisation, right? Where it's not, it's always yes and. When we yes and, we open the mind. When we open the mind, more information can come in. So that is the message coming through for anyone who chose number 2. Those who chose card number 3, you chose soulmate. Soulmate card. So these crystals are usually 2 crystals that are fused together. They grew together as one. So a double pointed crystal that grows together as one. Like this one's not a soulmate. It's close, but it's not. I mean, it's it's polyamorous. No, I'm just kidding. It's more of a cluster. But as you can see, they're all like all these separate points. They grow together as one. Anytime I get one, they tend to go out of my hand. I'm more like a way station for crystals. I don't get to keep a lot of the ones I find. This is kind of like one. You can see that there was like 2 defining crystals that started to merge together, but it's not quite right. So here's a high grade example of that. These 2 crystals that grow together. So the message for card number 3, if you chose the 3rd crystal, is to understand that they want you to know that it doesn't matter if you're looking at a mate as a soulmate or as a twin flame. You need to understand that nobody completes you, right? You're not a half person until you find the other person. That's called codependency. So we want to let go of codependency. We were sort of raised with a lot of examples of codependency, so it can be tricky to see it, to kind of spot when we're doing it. But anytime we're getting to that point where we think that I need someone else to complete me, we are not coming from the highest vibrational place. And we're actually not coming from a soulmate place or a twin flame place. We are coming from codependency. So remember your wholeness and their wholeness. So let's look at the card again. So it is 2 crystals grown together. They're still 2 whole beings who have chosen each other versus waiting for the other half to arrive. So that's the first thing they want to know. And if you find yourself in codependency, you can start healing that. I feel like I've got a ghost around me because the cards are flying everywhere. But if you find your codependent behaviors, you can start looking for them by what you expect someone else to do it for you. This is so tricky, and I think we all do this from time to time because we're trained to do it. And part of it, I think this card is asking you to untrain yourself, is to start owning and taking responsibility for more in your life, more emotionally, especially in your life. So if you're looking for someone else to help you feel secure, take responsibility for your own security. If you're looking for someone to make you happy, to make you feel safe, right? To whatever it is, fill in the blank. If you expect someone else to do it, pure and simple, that's codependency. When you recognize that your happiness, your safety, your security, the belief in yourself, I mean, we can do this. Remember, we can do this with more than just romantic relationships. We can do it with family. We can do it with friends. I mean, I know there have been I have besties who will, be like, yep, where I was like, I need you to believe in me because I just don't believe in myself enough. I've gone through that personally. That's a form of codependency. And I feel like what happens to us, especially if you keep asking for more, if you keep asking for more from the universe or from yourself, what it will do is a natural cleaning process where it's like, let me just remove that relationship. Let me just break that tie. Let me just take this opportunity away so that you have to make a new choice, to stand on your own 2 feet, or to believe in yourself, or to trust yourself, right? That comes in whenever we're calling for this higher love, when we're calling for a deeper connection with others. And what the other message of this card is to let you know that the soulmate path, which is one that's been romanticized for so long, right? Like soulmates, every romantic movie, soulmates, right? The soulmate path is not the fairy tale, sugar sweet roses story we think it is. The soulmate path can be the one that feels like a hot, fiery plate of shit. No, I'm kidding. But soulmate is all about healing. It's a contract in spirit that was made where it's like, I promise to be there to help you work through and heal these issues, and you'll be there for me to do that as well. So that means we get to see on a soulmate level, right? We get to see where people are out of alignment with their self, what they're trying to call into alignment. A lot of times soulmate relationships are bullshit detectors. They're like, bullshit, I see you. I see you hiding. I see you fighting and resisting and la la la. So just know that when you're calling that in, that's what you're calling in, is you're calling in deeper level work. And with the twin flame thing, that's another one that's gotten thrown around a lot, where this is the one where I was seeing a lot of codependent people getting on board with twin flame, because the idea somebody else out there is your other half. I want you to think of twin flame like a salt and pepper shaker set, okay? Instead of it being 2 halves that create a whole, I want you to see 2 wholes that create a set. They go together. They work together. So twin flame is a little bit more tandem relationship, I think, between soulmate and twin flame. The twin flame's more cohesive, working together, whereas soulmate is revolutionary healing, right? And another way to look at it is, instead of seeing 2 separate people, you can look at it as you and higher self. The twin flame relationship, you and higher self, the perfect complementary set. So that's one of my favorite ways of looking at that. I feel like it's the healthiest, and it's the one that gets you to work, to take responsibility and own what you're creating so that you can, by choice, create a better life. I hope this was helpful for you. Just kind of want to reiterate again, Smoky Quartz, I mean, any black or grounding crystal is especially good at helping you deal with anxiety or polarizing energy. But Smoky Quartz is my favorite. Because with the Smoky Quartz, I feel like you're the cat and it's petting you. It's like, shh, calm down. And it really does help you recognize when you're trying to take on other people's stress that's not yours. And this is a big time where that's happening, where highly empathic people, highly sensitive people, this is a very stressful time. And we're all kind of taking it on. And you can actually see it kind of playing out on the social planes, right? Where there are people freaking out on one end and people's like, calm down on the other end. I feel like understanding that, give yourself an option to ground, meditate, and remember that you don't have to fix everybody else's stress. right? So it becomes a quantity game. And I like to think about it like that. It's like we're like, every emotion we have is like a penny, and it goes into one of these two penny banks about what's happening out there in the world, right? Because we are all connected. We are connected by a higher level of group consciousness. So we are each contributing, or voting, if you will, for what happens next by how we're responding. And it's easy to get persuaded to respond a certain way, but you have to remember that every emotion you add to the pot, it collects, right? So even if today you were like adding a whole bunch of coins into stress or worry or fear about the future, you can take that and start adding more to calm, to grounding, to a sense of inner peace. You can start bringing it back to your world and what you want to see in this, in this reality, what's happening now versus worrying about the future. Because right now is a real moment. And so many people are taking that for granted because it's more exciting. It's the ego is way more excited worrying about the future than it is about staying present. Present doesn't give it anything. Future or past, that's like smorgasbord. So just know that every emotion that you're having is part of the collective, and that quantity does matter. Until next time, mwah. Love you guys. Stay magical. Thank you for watching. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell so that you know the next time I release a new video. Until then, stay magical.